After sharing my experience with heartbreak in 2 videos I've posted now, I've noticed a common theme in all of the comments. How do I get my ex back? How long do I have to stay in no contact? Does no contact work? Etc. All relating around the idea of hoping that your ex will come back. I truly believe that the real reason you're struggling to move on or that you want your ex back is because deep down you believe you can't find someone as good or better. And this belief creates symptoms that show up in different ways. So let me give you a few examples. The first is fear of being rejected. If I was enough, then they wouldn't have left. The fear of being alone. What if I stay single for years and end up regretting it? A scarcity mindset. What if they were my only shot at a great relationship? Or romanticizing the past. Maybe I should have given it another chance. Maybe that love was worth fighting for. Or if you're like me, maybe you feel unworthy. If I had been better, then maybe they wouldn't have walked away. But at the root of all of this, we believe that we won't experience something better. And I believe that this is what holds most people back from truly moving on. It's not just about missing them, it's about not trusting that you'll be able to find something better. So in this video, I'm going to talk about the real reason you're struggling to move on, the top 5 limiting beliefs keeping you stuck and how we can challenge those beliefs, and then talk about a tool I built to help you move on. Remember, the version of them that you remember probably was not as great as the reality of the situation. You don't miss them, you miss the idea of them. And the hardest person to break up with isn't your ex. It's the idealized version of them that you created in your head. This isn't something I just noticed in breakups, it's something I've actually witnessed firsthand, and I want to tell you a very personal story. So growing up, my stepmother was very emotionally and mentally abusive, not just to me, but to my father. She would often scream at him, sometimes hit him. Neighbors would call the cops on our house because she was yelling so loud. Often he would leave and go stay in hotels just to get away from the situation, but he would always come back, and I couldn't understand why. They even got a divorce at one point, got back together, and she continued to treat him the same way. And I just thought, I don't understand why you can't walk away. But now looking back with the experience I have, I do think it's because he truly believed he couldn't find something better. Or maybe he didn't think he deserved something better. He had his own flaws, and he may have used that to rationalize why he deserved this treatment. This is the best I can do. This is the love that I deserve. And I believe that it's that same belief that holds so many people back from getting out of toxic relationships or moving on from unhealthy relationships, because you don't think that you deserve something better or that you can get something better. Alan de Botton is a philosopher and author who explores the psychology of love and relationships. In one of his podcast interviews, I think he explains this idea perfectly.
A lot of the stuff that looks crazy now once made a lot of sense. If you were growing up, let's say, in an environment in which, let's say, a parent was suicidal and you shut down your emotions totally and decided you would never trust anyone. Fantastic. That's a fantastically clever thing to do when you're 5 years old, because that will get you through to the next stage of life. If you open your heart at 5 and there's a parent who's suicidal, it'll tear you apart. Or imagine somebody who becomes a clown as a child because there's a very sad atmosphere and there's a depression, and all they can have time for is jokes. They're just a manic joker. Brilliant. What a fantastic thing for a kid to work out. But what happens 10 years later, 20 years later, 30 years later, is that what used to be a fantastic defense against an intolerable situation has turned out to more or less ruin people's chances, because the person, with that difficult father will end up never being able to open their heart to anyone, even a very safe person. They won't even know their heart's closed, but they will be acting out the same defensive strategy. Or the person who, it was a great idea to be a bit of a joker early on, but now they have no time for anything serious, and their friends feel that they're a slightly plastic person, can never connect with them. That's a real toll in the adult world. So very often what we need to do is to say thank you to our younger selves for having devised strategies that really were clever, but at the same time say thank you, that was a fantastic strategy then. It may no longer be the right way for me to live now.
Hearing that, it makes me wonder how much of my own experience has impacted my relationships. And I took a few notes here. Maybe growing up in a chaotic and unstable home made me see relationships as an escape, something that could provide the emotional security I never fully received as a child. So maybe I romanticized love, not just as a connection, but as my chance to feel wanted, valued, and safe. At the time, that belief served me. It gave me hope that one day the right relationship would bring the stability that I never had. But in adulthood, I've started to see that this belief, which once gave me hope, was a setup for deeper heartbreak, because when the relationship ended, I wasn't just mourning the person, I was mourning the belief that they were my reassurance in a world that often felt unstable. So what I'm doing here is trying to take what he said and relating it back to my experience so I can better understand, why am I operating the way I do, and why is this breakup so much more challenging for me? Because if I can get to the root cause and better understand it, it might not be as challenging for me. This is where I want to get into a tool that I've created, because I understand challenging your own beliefs can be difficult. Even just understanding what those limiting beliefs are can be challenging. So many of you are probably familiar with Chat GPT, which is an AI tool, and they have GPTs that you can create. So essentially, I've created a Breakup Coach GPT AI tool that we can use to help us. And I'm going to go through a live demo right here. I used this frequently when I was going through my breakup, and I do believe it helped a lot. Except this one I specifically created because sometimes ChatGPT didn't ask specific enough questions or challenge me enough to help me reframe my mindset and feel better about the breakup. Okay, so when we first open this up, there's a few prompts that we can give it. I actually prefer to talk to my GPT, and so that's what we're gonna do today. I am really struggling with my breakup, and I just don't feel like I'll be able to find anyone better. Okay, so as we see, it just came up with a response, and I'm gonna actually play this through the audio so you guys can hear what it's saying to me.
Feel that way right now. Breakups have a way of making the future seem bleak, like you've lost your best chance at love. But let's break that thought down, because it's not based on reality, it's based on pain. Challenge to your thinking. 1. Why do you believe this person was the best you could have? If they were truly the best for you, wouldn't they still be in your life? What were the ways they didn't meet your needs or left you feeling unfulfilled?
So I want to pause it right here and ask it a few other questions just so you can see how I can start to work on this. So maybe I'll say, yeah, I just believe that they were the best. They were the most beautiful girl I ever dated, and I've never had as good of a connection as I did with them. Like, yeah, I know they lied to me, but sometimes I feel like if I had been better, they wouldn't have lied to me. So I'm just really struggling with this. I really want to reach out and text them. Maybe we can work this out. And the reason I'm asking it these questions is because I feel like these are common questions that a lot of you might have, and I want to show you that it can actually answer these questions and tailor it specifically to your unique situation. So here we go. It's crafting up a response again, and I'm going to play some of it for us now.
I hear how much this is weighing on you, but let's pause for a second, because I need to challenge some of the thoughts that are keeping you stuck. 1. They were the best. If they were truly the best for you, why did they lie? A relationship isn't just about looks or chemistry. It's about trust, respect, and emotional safety. The best person for you wouldn't put you in a position where you feel like you had to be better just to be treated honestly. If I had been better, they wouldn't have lied. Lying is a choice. It's not something you cause by not being good enough. If someone truly loves and respects you, they communicate. They don't deceive. Instead of asking, why wasn't I enough to make them honest? Ask, why did I accept dishonesty when I deserved truth?
So again, I'm gonna pause it, but you can see how it starts to actually challenge my own beliefs and make me question, why am I thinking this way? And so I cannot advocate enough to use this tool. If you're going through a breakup, I truly believe that this can help you. But with that being said, I still want to walk through 5 of the biggest limiting beliefs that I think you all have, and walk through some questions that we can use to challenge our beliefs. So the first here is that I'll never find someone as good as my ex. People often believe they lost someone rare, especially if your ex was super attractive or successful, or maybe they opened up doors that you otherwise wouldn't have had. It can feel like a loss of status, as if you weren't good enough to keep them. And some of you might even fear that your best time has already passed, your peak has passed, and you're not going to be able to attract someone as high quality again. But let's challenge some of these. What if your ex was simply the best for the version of you back then? but the person you're growing into needs something different. Have you ever thought someone was the best before, only to later realize that they weren't? If you've improved in other areas of your life, like your career, fitness, or mindset, why wouldn't the same be possible in dating? The second here, and these are all closely related, is I'm not good enough to attract someone better. After a breakup, many people feel like they've lost their value, especially if you tied a lot of your value to the relationship and the success of it, the appearance of it, like I just mentioned. But again, let's challenge some of these beliefs. Would you rather be good enough for the wrong person or focus on becoming the best version of yourself for the right one? You were able to attract them, so why couldn't you do it again? You've already proven to yourself that it is possible. Instead of focusing on what you lost, what if you focused on leveling up so you attract someone even better? The third here is, I wasted so much time and now I'm back to square one. Especially in long-term relationships, it can make it feel like you've lost so much time that you've invested. I also want to start off by saying that this is closely associated with the sunk cost fallacy, which I've mentioned before. The sunk cost fallacy is when people keep investing in something simply because they've already put time and effort into it, even if it isn't serving you anymore. Just like watching a bad movie, just because you've already spent an hour on it doesn't mean you should continue to watch it and finish the movie. The same stays true for a relationship. It's not honoring the relationship to continue to stay in it, it's doubling down on a mistake. So let's challenge this with a few questions. Is the time really wasted, or did you gain lessons and experiences that make you a better partner for someone new? If you had stayed with the wrong person for another 5 or 10 years, wouldn't that be the real waste of time? Can you imagine? If you don't feel great now, how much worse would it be in 5 or 10 years? What if the past wasn't a waste of time, but a necessary step to becoming the person who finally gets it right? You're just taking the proper steps to finding the right person. Next, dating is too hard and I just don't want to go through it again. Especially for those of you who have been in long-term relationships, you might feel out of touch with dating, or for those of you who have been in the dating market a lot, you can understand how stressful it can feel at times. The fear of rejection or putting an effort just to be disappointed again can make dating feel exhausting. Some feel that starting over means going through unnecessary emotional pain again, and we just don't want to deal with that. But again, let's challenge this belief. If you knew for a fact that going through this process would lead you to the best relationship of your life, would you still see it as too hard? Is dating hard, or is it just uncomfortable because it forces you to grow? If dating is hard, is the solution to never try again or to get better at it? I think I read this quote one time that said, "Don't wish it were easier, wish that you were better." And then all the good ones are taken. Especially as people get older, you often feel like the dating pool is shrinking. All of the best options have already been taken, especially as people start to have higher standards. But again, let's challenge this. If all the good ones are taken, how do people keep getting into great relationships every single day? Could it be that your environment, mindset, or approach is limiting your options more than the actual dating pool itself? What if instead of focusing on scarcity, you focused on becoming the best version of yourself, which would naturally attract the right person? Again, become better, not bitter. What I really think this comes down to is if you knew that in 2 years, guaranteed, you would find someone that you like as much or better in 2 years, what would you do in the intervening time? Would you waste them replaying old memories, hoping your ex comes back? Or would you use them to become the kind of person that's ready for the next relationship? Because here's the irony. Living as if you will find someone better is exactly what makes it happen. So what I would say is stop focusing on whether it will happen and assume it will. Then ask yourself, what is the type of person that I want to be when I do meet that next person?